the CyberHub bunker and studio. You're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Well, folks, happy Tuesday, November 9th. I'm a bit raspy, but it's over. All right, there we go. Welcome to this morning's Cyber News / Practitioner Brief. I hope you're ready for a busy show. Today's show is less about vulnerabilities and more about deterrence, enforcement. Oh, and by the way, the oldest trick in the book still works, and Robinhood is living proof of that. Not making fun of them, but this goes to show you just how the human element is sometimes at the forefront of everything to do with technology and security. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this morning. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Please comment below. In just a moment, we're going to drink some coffee. So start commenting. Let me know what coffee you're drinking this morning. I am going to start to keep track of this. And then once a week or once every few weeks, I'll get the coffee, someone else's favorite coffee, and we'll try it here live on the show instead of my normal double espresso. So good morning to Brent. Good morning to Willem. Thank you for being here on Facebook. Hello and good morning to Nora. And thank you so much for being here as well. Folks, we've got a loaded show. Please make sure to subscribe. Find us on your favorite podcast listening platform. Later today, in just 2 short hours, a new CISO Talk episode will be dropping with my good friend Kevin Gowan, the CISO over at Synovus, and my friends over at Simulate. I had Andrew Barnett on. He's the Chief Strategy Officer. We did a live podcast about a month and a half ago. The works of that are available today. So go check it out on the CISO Talk podcast. You definitely don't want to miss it. All right. Before we get into Robinhood, I like to have my double espresso. This is my Illy double espresso. It's a strong one, folks. It's a good one, though. Promise you that. Really good. So my double espresso, whatever you're drinking, put it in the comments. So let me know. We'll say good morning to Zinat, and thank you so much for being here. And folks, without further ado, coffee cup cheers. Robinhood has been in the news a lot, and mostly they were in the news for the GameStop AMC thing. The whole Reddit taking down Wall Street, how the middleman, how the smallest people came together, the power of the internet, and took down some big hedge funds. Well, try to at least, right? Robinhood yesterday discloses a data breach that impacts 7 million of their customers. The data breach itself occurred on November 3rd, so nearly a week ago, after a threat actor called a customer support employee and used social engineering to obtain access to customer support systems. After accessing the support systems, the threat actor was able to access customer information, including full names, email addresses, and for a limited number of people, date of birth and zip codes. At this time, we understand that the unauthorized party obtained a list of email addresses for approximately 5 million people and full names for a different group of approximately 2 million people, according to the blog post. We also believe that for a limited number of people, approximately 310 in total, additional personal information was exposed that includes names, date of birth, and zip code, with a subset of approximately 10 customers having more extensive account details revealed. In summary, the data breach exposed email addresses for 5 million customers, full name for 2 million, names and date of birth and zip codes for 300, and more extensive account information for 10 people. The company states that they do not believe any social security numbers, bank account numbers, or debit card numbers were exposed in the attack. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do there. So classic social engineering, calling a call center. Here's where this comes down to: identity, access management, and privileged access. How is it that someone can call customer support and social engineer customer support to give them access to 7 million records? Now, granted, the information taken wasn't big email addresses and names. This could have been more of a script kiddie type of thing, or something along those lines. But nonetheless, this is significant because it just shows you the human side of it. But it also goes to the idea of access. and permissions, and why those are critical and often overlooked and given to juniors within an organization, within a security team, to put those together. Talk about identity access management. Talk about privileged access. Talk about account information. What's privileged account information? What's not privileged account information for someone to have? This breach goes to the heart of that conversation. You've got a customer support employee who's probably either in a call center or working from home, who has access to all your customers' records. Now, granted, he may have not, that employee, specific employee, may have not have had access to bank account information and credit card information, so those controls were in place. But the idea that this customer support employee was able to be social engineered to give someone access to the customer support system, that is a conversation worth having. And again, not judging Robinhood or their security team. I'm sure they did a magnificent, or tried to do a magnificent job. This stuff does happen, but the human element cannot be ignored. And that's why there's technological controls over this one. Paul goes on to say, there's going to be an intern fired at Robinhood. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, we had an intern do our identity access management program here. That's why this happened. Could very well be the case, Paul. We'll move on, because then we've got 3 out of 5 stories today that are all about deterrence and taking down our adversaries. A suspected REvil ransomware affiliate has been arrested in a global takedown. Romanian law enforcement authorities have announced the arrest of 2 individuals for their roles in as affiliates of the REvil ransomware family, dealing a severe blow to one of the more prolific cybercrime gangs in history. The suspects are believed to have orchestrated over 5,000 ransomware attacks and extorted close to $600,000 from victims, according to Europol. Another cool operation name called Gold Dust, which has resulted in the arrest of 3 other REvil affiliates and 2 suspects connected to the GN Crab in Kuwait and South Korea since February of 2021. We'll get to more of that because I've got more stories on the back end of this one, but another blow. I want to talk about this one real quick, folks. This is a critical flaw in the Sitecore experience platform that's being exploited in attacks. Adversaries have already started targeting a critical remote code execution vulnerability in Sitecore experience platform, according to the Australian Cybersecurity Center. It's tracked the CVE 2021-42237. The security issue was initially detailed on October 8th of last month, when Sitecore provided mitigation steps for the organization that used its enterprise content management system. The flaw is described as a remote code execution bug that exists because of an insecure deserialization in the report.achx file, which was used to drive the executive insight dashboard that was deprecated in 8.0 initial release. Sitecore XP versions impacted by the vulnerability include 7.5, 8.0 to 8.27, 8.2.7. For Sitecore XP 8.0.0 to 8.2.7, removing report.achx should address the issue. Sitecore XP 7.5.0 to 7.5.2 installations should be upgraded to 8.0 or 9.0 releases, where that has already been removed. There's already an active POC on this, so there's a proof of concept of this exploit being taken advantage of publicly in the wild. Please make sure to get that done as well. So that's really important. So keep that in mind. We'll move on to this one. The U.S. So yesterday, the Department of Justice did this whole grandioso press conference, and they're like, "We're cracking down on cybercrime. We've been talking for years about the enforcement against ransomware and cybercrime groups to lower the impact, to essentially make it nation states, so it eventually kind of, you start to know who's against who." Well, the Chatex cryptocurrency exchange that was used by ransomware gangs has been sanctioned by the U.S. Department of Treasury. That was announced yesterday, along with the Department of Justice's announcement of several more arrests. We'll get to that here in just a moment. The analysis of Chatex's known transaction indicate that over half are directly traced to illicit or high-risk activities like dark net markets, high-risk exchanges, and ransomware, according to Treasury. It's being designated pursuant to Executive Order 13694 as amended for providing material support to SEOX and the threat posed by criminal ransomware actors. So if you do business or you've got money with this crypto exchange, you may want to rethink it. They're now sanctioned by the US, and you could be subject to civil or criminal penalties based on your business. This goes on to this one. So yesterday, Attorney General Garland, who's been, we've been waiting to see what his DOJ will do. And finally, they've now charged a Ukrainian suspect who was arrested in Poland last month with deploying the REvil ransomware to target multiple businesses and government entities in the country, including perpetrating the attacks against software company Kaseya, marking the latest action to crack down on the cybercrime group and curb further attacks. The unsealed court documents revealed that 22-year-old Yaroslav Vysinski is alleged to have been part of the ransomware operation since at least March of 19 and deployed about 2,500 attacks against businesses worldwide. He's got several aliases. He was apprehended at the Polish border on October 8th after an international arrest warrant was issued at the behest of the U.S. authorities. The Justice Department also disclosed the seizure of $6.1 million in alleged ransomware payments received by Russian national Yevgeny Polyan, who's currently at large and has been accused of conducting REvil ransomware attacks against multiple businesses and government entities in Texas dating back to August 16th of 2019. Both have been charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and related activity in connection with computer substantive count of damage to protected computers and conspiracy to commit money laundering. The maximum penalties between 115 to 145 years in prison if they're found guilty of all charges. Yevgeny is now wanted. He's got an Interpol red notice to his name. And you can imagine these very cool mugshots of him. He's probably not very happy with those. But nonetheless, the latest development comes amid a flurry of activities, including Operation Gold Dust and several others this week. So we can see that this is finally all coming together, folks. It's all coming together. We are taking it right to these guys and charging them. So you guys can see the show notes below. If you're listening on your favorite podcast listening platform, just click on the last link. It'll take you right to the Department of Justice press conference where Attorney General Garland talks a little bit more about this as well. So, folks, a job well done by U.S. law enforcement chasing down these guys across the entire globe. And we know it's not easy, and bringing them to justice, creating deterrence, and making people think twice before doing anything like this. Folks, that's it for our practitioner brief here today. We'll be back tomorrow with a lot more. Until then, please make sure to tune into the CISO Talk podcast dropping later today. You can find it on your favorite CISO Talk podcast, on your favorite podcast listening platform. Just look up CISO Talk, or on our YouTube channel at CyberHub Podcast. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.